What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest, your go-to YouTube channel for everything Knicks related. Knicks news, rumors, trades, discussions, scores, all of that will be here on Knicks Latest every weekday for you. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you comment. I do take your comments. I use them for content. I answer your questions. We discuss everything New York Knicks, trying to build a community here for the most anticipated New York Knicks season since the Patrick Ewing days. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment. Let's get started with what we all know right now. Basically, there are AAU tryouts being held in New York to make this team for the final roster spot or two, depending on what Leon Rose does here. But we discussed yesterday players like Dennis Smith Jr., Alex Len, Malcolm Brogdon, Kevin McCullough Jr., all these players are coming into training camp on these non-guaranteed deals, searching for a roster spot on the Knicks, maybe a G League spot, something of that nature, to be a part of this team that seems like they're going to contend for a championship. As I said yesterday, I don't really think these players who are coming in have too much of a shot. I think it's really Landry Shamet, and then if Leon Rose can find a suitor for a young player like a Dadier or a Kolek, then I do think they get shipped out and someone like a Malcolm Brogdon will slip in. And according to Ian Begley, he thinks the same thing. Right now, it's looking like if there is a trade, not that there will be a trade, he's not reporting that there will be a trade, but if there is a trade, the math works where you could trade Kolek, bring in Brogdon for a veteran minimum, and you will be under the second apron. It's looking like that's what is going to happen here in New York. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think if you're Leon Rose, you bring in this many veterans, you bring in a Garrison Matthews, a Malcolm Brogdon, a Dennis Smith Jr., just for the heck of it, right? I think you are holding an open tryout to see how many veterans you can bring on the team and how many people you can bring on that fits Mike Brown's system and that you think can contribute right away, because the window is open now. There is no more next year with this New York Knicks team. There is now. And right now, Tyler Kolek just does not fit the timeline. This is his second year in the league. He had a decent rookie year when he was called upon to play. He was very good at distributing the basketball. He showed some flashes here of playmaking. Was not too good on the defensive end, however. And then his first two summer league games this year, he did struggle, raising alarm bells maybe for the New York Knicks organization, saying, hey, maybe we won't be able to use this guy this year. Maybe he won't be serviceable. Therefore, he is expendable because we are trying to win a championship now. I do think Kolek can be a decent guard in this league. I think he can be a backup point guard. He is somebody who can spot up and hit the three. He's someone who can make plays for others. But right now, the Knicks are looking for a championship, and I don't think this organization views him as somebody who's going to help him do that. So you get rid of Kolek. You can sign somebody for the vet minimum. Even if it's not even Brogdon, you sign someone for the vet minimum and you stay under the second apron. That's really what makes sense here. Dadier is another option as well. But right now, it does not make sense if you're going to bring in another guard to trade Dadier, right? You're going to get rid of a guard. You're going to get rid of that logjam, because if you bring in Brogdon, you still kind of have, the bench unit of Jordan Clarkson, Deuce McBride, Brogdon, and even Shamet, who can handle the ball, Bridges, who runs with the second unit sometimes too. So there's a lot of logjam there in the backcourt if you bring in Brogdon, and I think the Knicks know that. That's why I think Kolek is the odd man out. Now, let's say Kolek's out. Let's say Brogdon's in. Let's say they shine Shamet. What does the bench look like here? And I want to know what you think here, because there are a lot of different ways that this can go, and a lot of it also depends on who starts, right? So if you start Mitchell Robinson and you bring Josh Hart to the bench, you have not just, I'm not saying this is the rotation, but the people who are coming off your bench are Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson, Landry Shamet, Josh Hart, Gershon Yabusele, you have Ariel Hukporti, Malcolm Brogdon. That's a lot of players to choose between who you want to be in your rotation. How big is Mike Brown's rotation also? Does he go 10 deep? Does he go 11, 12? When you get to the playoffs, you cut that down to about 7, 8, 9, depending on the team. If you're the Pacers, you still do 10 or 11, but that's very rare. You saw Tom Thibodeau, he rarely went 8. Sometimes he went 7. So it is going to be very interesting to see how Mike Brown navigates this if Brogdon and Shamet do both come on board. You have ball handlers in Jordan Clarkson, in Deuce McBride, in Mikal Bridges, who could be playing with the bench unit, in Josh Hart, who I'm not saying is a point guard, but somebody who can handle the rock and lead the fast break. There are a lot of different options here, and I think things get very interesting. Bondi was on Knicks Fan TV yesterday talking about how possibly Deuce McBride might be a candidate to be traded because he is outplaying his contract, because he will want more money. That's interesting to me. I don't see a scenario where the Knicks get rid of Deuce this season. I know that his contract will be up, I think, next year, so that's something to look out for as well, but I don't think the Knicks are looking to trade him right away. He is somebody I think they're relying on spot-up shooting off the bench, someone who is a good point of attack defender as well. I think he's too valuable, and I think the Knicks are just not looking to trade him right now. I understand that you might be bringing in Brogdon, but for my money, I would rather Deuce McBride right now just because I know what I'm getting with Deuce. With Malcolm Brogdon, there's a lot of question marks about his health, about his age, how long he could last, all those good things. Where I know with Deuce McBride, you're getting a young, athletic, point of attack defender who can hit the three, who brings in energy, and who has fit in with this team beautifully. So I don't think that's really up for discussion. Stephon Bondi did say that it's not something that's going to happen. It's just people around the league talking, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But that is something to look out for as well. But you bring in Shamet, you bring in Brogdon, that's a lot of minutes to distribute off the bench if you're going to do so. That's a lot of options right there for your rotation. I didn't even really mention Huck Porty. Dadier's not going to get minutes, unfortunately. You're going to have a bunch of people in the G League. That's what it's going to be. But I'm interested to see how Mike Brown views the bench, how he uses that rotation. And that all starts with who starts, right? If Mitch isn't starting, then he comes back to the bench, and all of a sudden the bench rotation looks a little different as well. The Knicks are not messing around, man. That's all I'm saying. They are not playing games. We are going to be stacked. We have a lot of players who can get playing time, and even though it's a little bit of a problem, it's a good problem to have, and I'm looking forward to Media Day where Mike Brown's going to answer these questions, or some of these questions at least. I hope the Knicks media ask him these questions. Who's going to start? Who's coming off the bench? What does that look like? Obviously a lot of that's not going to be answered until these contracts are signed, until people are moved, but I am interested into hearing, what his thought process is on who's going to play and what they deem valuable. So yeah, that's next week. Looking forward to that. Before we get out of here, just quick notes here. The Knicks did cut Dink Pate. Dink is somebody who a lot of had a lot of online lore. A lot of younger kids were thinking he's the next, star or undiscovered superstar in the league. He had a decent summer league. He was okay. Knicks end up cutting him, but he's still eligible to be signed to the Westchester Knicks and play in the G League, so his career's not over with the Knicks necessarily. He can go to the G League team. He can ball out there. He can get brought up eventually, maybe sign a two-way later on. But right now is just not the time to bring on someone like a project like Dink Pate, who may have a lot of potential, but just is not going to see the floor for the New York Knicks this year. All right, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think the bench rotation will look like if they do sign Malcolm Brogdon. Do you think Brogdon should get minutes over someone like a Deuce McBride? Do you think the Knicks would be smart to sign a Deuce McBride before he wants more money, and when his contract extends, he signs somewhere else? What do you think is going to be the starting lineup? Are you starting Mitch? Are you starting Josh? If not, or if so, what does the bench look like? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe as well. Like I said, we are trying to build a huge community here going into the most anticipated Knicks season since the Ewing era. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.